Welcome to the Explainer. Today we're unpacking one of the absolutely most fascinating tactical case studies in all of sports history. If you really want to understand how strategy, geography, and just sheer human willpower collide, well, you don't look at a military battlefield. No, you look at a soccer pitch. Specifically, we're heading to the Estadio Nacional in Lisbon. The date? May 25th, 1967. We are going to dive deep into the European Cup final between Celtic and Inter Milan. It's a legendary match, one that literally redefined how the beautiful game was played. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive straight into this with a quote from Celtic manager Jock Stein, who summed it up perfectly. "We did it by playing football. Pure, beautiful, inventive football." And this wasn't just post-match bragging. Actually, it's the entire philosophical core of what we're looking at today. Because what happened in 1967 wasn't just a competition of athletic skill, it was a total war of ideologies. On one side, you had a system built on joyous, relentless attacking, that inventive football Stein talked about. And on the exact opposite side, a system built on absolute, unyielding defense. It was literally the ultimate unstoppable force meeting the immovable object. And it forces us to ask a really crucial question as we go through this explainer. What matters more, the rigid system you play or the human heart of the players executing it?
So to really understand the stakes here, we have to drop right into the action. Picture this. It's a spectacularly gorgeous evening in the Portuguese capital. But almost immediately, disaster strikes for Celtic. We're only in the 7th minute, and Inter Milan's Sandro Mazzola steps up and sweeps an impeccable penalty kick right past Celtic's goalkeeper, Ronnie Simpson. Bam! Inter Milan is up 1-0. And listen, if you know anything at all about Italian soccer in the 1960s, going down early to them is the absolute worst-case scenario. Because once they take the lead, they retreat into this legendary defensive shell. Let's step into the coach's corner for a second to define exactly what Celtic was up against here. The Italians deployed a system known as Catenaccio, which literally translates to door bolt. It is a highly effective, totally cynical, 11-man defensive system. See, Inter Milan didn't care about entertaining the crowd. They only cared about suffocating the opposition. And the anchor of this whole system was a man clad in black, the Inter Milan goalkeeper, Giuliano Sardi. For over an hour, Sardi looked like an unbeatable human wall. Swooping left and right, he just repelled raid after raid. And this brilliantly illustrates the broader tactical playbook we're dealing with. Think of the pitch as a giant chessboard. Because soccer isn't just 11 guys running around kicking a ball, right? It's about structural systems of play. It's about how you organize space, dictate movement, and control the flow of the game. Inter Milan's Catenaccio was one very specific, very rigid way to organize that chessboard. But to really grasp how radical Celtic's approach to breaking the system was, we need to take a quick step back and look at how formations had evolved up to this point in time.
Because the geometry of soccer has shifted drastically over the decades. Back in 1872, teams played this incredibly top-heavy pyramid system, literally 2 defenders and 5 forwards. The emphasis was entirely on just rushing the goal. But by the 1930s, systems needed to become more balanced, so teams could actually control the midfield, which brought us the WM and WW shapes. These strategically pulled forwards back a bit to link up the play. Fast forward to the 1950s, and formations like the famous Hungarian 4-2-4 made tactics highly structured and deeply analytical. Formations were no longer just loose guidelines, They were the very identity of the teams playing them.
Let's move on and see how this builds, because these systems eventually evolved into deeply held national identities. Take Holland, for example. They became synonymous with the 4-3-3 and total football, emphasizing fluidity and interchangeable roles. Brazil famously utilized the 4-2-2-2 box to maximize their attacking flair. England, well, they loved the physical directness of their traditional number 9 center forward. And Italy, as we've already established, became the global face of the defensive Catenaccio. Tactics weren't just math on a chalkboard anymore. They were quite literally reflections of a nation's sporting soul. Which brings us right back to the 1967 final, a massive clash of 2 drastically different philosophies. On one side, Inter Milan with their rigid, cynical Catenaccio. On the other, Celtic. Celtic player Jimmy Johnstone famously described their own style as like the Dutch speeded up, aggressive, fast-paced, attacking grace laced with heavy grit. But here is the most staggering contrast we found in the source material. Inter Milan was this massive global powerhouse. Celtic, affectionately known as the Lisbon Lions, was a squad where every single player, except for 2, was born within a 10-mile radius of Celtic Park in Glasgow. Tommy Gemmell was born 11 miles away, and Bobby Lennox 30 miles away. That's it. This was quite literally a neighborhood team taking on the absolute titans of Europe.
Now, what's really interesting about this number right here is the sheer defiance it represents. 39. After going down 1-0 in that 7th minute, Celtic didn't panic. Actually, scratch that, they did the exact opposite of panicking. They unleashed an unbelievable 39 attempts on goal. They thundered forward, laying a relentless, hammering siege on the Italian citadel. They had fullbacks crossing the halfway line, which was something almost unheard of at the time against such dangerous opponents. It was just a complete and utter barrage of attacking football, a non-stop procession towards the Italian goal.
And on the flip side, 0. That is the number of corner kicks Inter Milan won during the entire match. 0. I mean, that tells you everything you need to know about the tactical dominance on display. Celtic's goalkeeper, Ronnie Simpson, only had to make 2 saves the entire game. The Scottish side completely suffocated the Italian attack, pitting them deep into their own half, basically daring the Catenaccio system to bend until it finally broke.
But here's the thing. Breaking a true Catenaccio is incredibly frustrating. It requires penetrating these meticulously organized defensive lines. Out of those 39 attempts by Celtic we just talked about, Inter's goalkeeper saved 13 of them. 7 more were blocked or deflected by the swarming defense. 2 smashed violently off the crossbar. 19 flew off target. So, for over an hour, Celtic battered away at the doorbolt, getting absolutely nothing to show for their glorious, exhausting endeavor.
Which brings us to exactly 6:48 p.m. Over an hour of mounting tension and 0 reward. Finally, on 63 minutes, Jim Craig, the man who had actually given away that early penalty, makes amends. He lays off the absolute perfect pass just inside the box. Racing onto it is the flamboyant fullback Tommy Gemmell, and Gemmell just clubs an effort of such awesome power that the ball is a mere blur as it explodes high over Sardi's right shoulder into the rigging. As Celtic teammate Bertie Auld said later, that was the goal that mattered. The wall had finally been breached.
And you know, once the wall cracks, it crumbles. With the score tied 1-1 and the clock ticking down to the 83rd minute, Celtic's inventive system strikes the final blow. Tommy Gemmell finds space, plays the ball to Bobby Murdoch, and Murdoch fires a long-range shot. It perfectly deflects off Stevie Chalmers and flies right past Sarti into the net. 2-1 Celtic. With that single goal, Celtic became the very first British team to conquer Europe, completing the fabled quadruple. I mean, they won the Scottish Top Flight, the Scottish Cup, the League Cup, and the European Cup, all in a single season. Unreal.
So the crucial point is, it's really easy to forget that these complex tactical systems are executed by actual human beings. 2 years after that final, a very nervous 17-year-old rookie journalist named Alex Gordon was asked by a magazine to call up a big-name player. So he called his absolute hero, Tommy Gemmell. Terrified, Alex asked if he could steal just 5 minutes of his time. Gemmell initially joked, "No, you may not," before following up with this incredibly warm response, "Take as long as you want, son." It was just a simple act of profound kindness that started a friendship lasting 48 years.
And that's the thing. The character behind the tactics is what ultimately wins championships. Tommy Gemmell wasn't just a cog in a machine, you know? He was a flamboyant fullback who dared to cross the halfway line when defenders were expected to rigidly stay home. Jock Stein literally called him the best left back in the world. And later in life, when he faced a lengthy illness before passing away in 2017, he did so with the exact same bravery he showed on the pitch, adopting this amazing personal mantra: why should a living man ever complain? Sure, formations dictate the flow of the game, but it's the specific courage and personality of the players that break the lines.
The 1967 Celtic squad conquered Europe with a neighborhood team, shattering the greatest defensive system of their era with pure, inventive football. But looking at the sport today, where tactical blueprints are analyzed by supercomputers and squads are assembled from literally all across the globe, it really begs the question, could a hyper-local team ever pull off a miracle like this again? Ask yourself what matters more, the system on the chalkboard or the heart of the players executing it. Thanks for exploring this amazing piece of history with me, and we'll catch you in the next explainer.